Greetings, greetings, greetings. We're talking to the end of April 2021. We're going to talk about some astrology. Oh man, must be a full moon in Scorpio coming up, feeling a little bit ornery. By the way, we're having our first Alila community free-for-all meeting on May 1st. Why are you still on Facebook? Why are you still on Instagram talking to your friends, your family? You could be hanging out with me. Come on, join my new community, rosalilacommunity.com. Now, just a few days ago, we had the sun enter Taurus, so we're into Taurus season. Sun remains in Taurus through May 20th. And Venus, the ruler of Taurus, entered into her own sign last week, the 14th, and she'll stay in Taurus through May 8th. So, Taurus season, springtime in the northern hemisphere, earth energy, gardening, body, senses, relaxation, pleasure, paradise. Well, in the years 2019 to 2025, we have Uranus transiting Taurus, which makes things a little bit different going on these years, especially in this year of 2021, where we see Saturn in a third quarter square to Uranus while transiting Uranus' sign of Aquarius. This is indicative of a societal structural breakdown. But it's not only an outer breakdown of structures, it's also an internal breakdown of conditioned structures, rules, regulations, systems, modes of behavior that are outdated, that cannot any longer work the way they used to. And this is some of the underlying theme of this entire year of 2021. Things can't keep working in the same way. We can't keep doing it in the same way. There is a very real breakdown happening. In that same vein is the liberation to step into future possibilities, realities, circumstances we never believed was possible. They were so distant, they were so futuristic, they were so off. They're coming much, much quicker than we realized was possible in this same experience of breaking down. Yes, sometimes things can be just weird, incongruent, spontaneous, and unpredictable while we are going through such a passageway as a species. And this particular lunar cycle, the last new moon began square to Pluto. We'll talk about the full moon in Scorpio as Pluto stations retrograde. This is an intense birth canal-like passageway we're maneuvering through at this time. It can also be tremendously liberating and empowering. So anyways, Uranus, Saturn, squaring off all of 2021, societal breakdown. And these weeks now, we see Venus joining Uranus the 22nd, squaring Saturn the 25th of April. Mercury is also joining Venus, joining Uranus, squaring Saturn. Okay, now both Mercury and Uranus rules the nervous system, so we can expect our nervous system is more dialed up. There's more restless energy, sleepless nights, and there's, again, a very unpredictable nature is Uranus. So there are, little shocking twists and turns, curveballs being thrown all throughout the way, as well as sudden eureka moments. That's going on these last weeks of April. Suddenly things can come together. Suddenly things make sense. We thought it was this way and it's actually like this. We thought that things were this way because so-and-so said this thing and they were wrong. Or it was a completely different wrong chapter. We opened our book to the wrong page. So these types of eurekas, light bulbs going off, as well as quick, sudden, spontaneous changes can be pretty radical in changing our approach to life, how we're thinking, how we're seeing, how we're communicating. Now, the fact that Venus, in her own sign of Taurus, conjoining Uranus and Taurus, squaring to Saturn, is definitely bringing up these themes that's kind of catalyzing and forcing us to be reinventing our most basic means of living. I mean, that's what Taurus is. Taurus is biological rhythm. It is us waking up in morning, going to bed at night, having usually 3 meals a day. Taurus is these natural survival, animal integrated in our cells, in our biology type of nature. And that is where we're getting this Uranian upset, frustration, divine discontent, uncertainty, unpredictability, and it is forcing us to reinvent our lives. Now, Venus rules all energy exchange, money, resources, food, relationships. Okay, this is all Venus area. It's the give and take of energy. This is the divine feminine. This is Lakshmi. This is Maya. This is Durga. Venus. Okay, so this is where we are experiencing this reinvention. It's not just who we're connecting with or where we're connecting with them. It's not just what we're doing for our job or what we're doing to pay the bills. It is how we're connecting with others, how we're doing information exchange, resource exchange, not just who, but how we are connecting and relating to others is going through this rebooting. And it can be considerably exciting as much as it can be disconcerting. Now, something that I want to stress here, we can talk about the particular energy dynamics all day long. Astrology is very good at providing these reflections. At a little bit of a deeper level, I want to provide a suggestion in terms of how we can maneuver through a bit of these tighter experimental weeks. This Saturn squaring to Uranus, as I've been saying, is forcing this inventing of a new way of doing things. The old structures, the old systems, the old bureaucracies, how our parents earn their money, how authorities used to manage power structures and hierarchies. It's all falling apart. It's going to shit. It's outdated. It's primitive. We don't live in the 50s anymore. So that whole era, the American dream, the dream of our grandparents, that very, very specifically is where there is this total deconstruction, reinvention, and we can therefore kind of anticipate that those are the things that aren't working. For example, Venus in Taurus brings up money, property, resources, how we live, I've got that Uranus transiting my moon. I've moved 4 times in the last year, and I'm having to move again in these next few weeks, which is a considerably pain in the ass, to put it lightly, and that's going to be some of my full moon when we get to it. As a personal example, I can't continue to play this game of competing with other poor families to get homes and to it's like my nervous system has already been exhausted. I am in a survival state. That's Taurus. Uranus is the nervous system. Uranus is trauma. Uranus is PTSD. We can all be having our basic survival needs, coping mechanisms triggered. But the point is, we are changing how we maneuver through these circumstances and how we exchange these resources. So my nervous system's already been fried. I've already been run over, steamrollered, bled out, and there's nothing left. I can't continue that dog eat dog, fight to survive, compete, please dad, play the game for the realtor, the other people, blah, 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 blah. So I need to know people. I need to get hookups, and I'm basically just coasting. I'm experimenting, talking with people, more so interested in networking. That's a part of what this Saturn in Aquarius is forcing, is community building and networking, but it's not being served on a silver platter. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in community, is there not? There's a lot of challenges in networking, and that's where all of this work is going on. So I don't know if that's a good example, what I'm personally living, but what I mean to say by that is it's very, very specifically where there's these circumstances that we cannot do it in the old way. Even if it's the societally ordained way, even if it's like how our parents did it. Like, for example, people of older generation are speaking to me being just like, well, I remember when I was your age and I was buying a house and boy, it was a really great time in the economy, and so I did things this way, and you can't do things that way. And it's just like, well, that's the point. So what I would suggest is not being run over by the expectation, the obligation, the old standard, the tradition, the pressure coming from our old bosses, parents, and authorities, because that is exactly what's breaking down. And it's meant to be broken down. It's meant to not work. We're not necessarily supposed to feel good about money, livelihood, job. No, not with this Venus transit. It's going to be bringing up the divine discontent. It's going to be bringing up this frustration. And what it centralizes around is how can we live our life and have our basic principles met? Food, shelter, sexuality, support from other people, very, very basic human needs. These are the same needs that we have been conditioned to shut down, overlook, bypass, sweep to the side by this extraordinarily uncaring, uncompromising, inflexible, racist, prejudice society that we live in, that serves the rich and prejudices against the poor. That is this structured society and world that we have lived in for lifetimes. That is why we are getting these triggers that can catalyze huge emotional response. Haven't even gotten to that full moon on Scorpio yet, but just wait. These emotional responses can be speaking from the place of past lifetimes, experiences that can be extraordinarily frustrating because we've encountered these patterns and circumstances time and time again. And when we encounter these PTSD areas, we experience an enormous gravity to repeat what happened in the past. It's just like, okay, I'm going to get thrown out on the street. I'm going to be homeless. There is going to be no support. There is going to be no family. There is going to be no place to live. And then there's an automatic propensity to dig a hole and live in it, and to hide in it, and to run away, or to become a ghost, or to disappear. Speaking from my personal experience. But that would be a way to repeat the traumas of the past. In no way, shape, or form does it have to be that bad, that bleak, that sad. Those emotional responses are coming from our very real, valid past experience. So in no way, shape, or form are we putting down those emotional responses. They are informing us of our truth and our story. But at the same time, we cannot allow ourselves to be swept away by them to the point where we lose perspective. We lose the opportunity to explore new possibilities, to open up into new patterns. That's where this breakdown, that's why this period can be so intense on the body, the nervous system. We have to honor Taurus. We have to slow down. Make sure you're getting all your meals. Make sure that you have enough snacks and naps and downtime to recognize that those possibilities exist. The possibilities that we've never lived or tasted before, because things are changing and things are different. But we do need to have the breadth and the spaciousness to recognize that, to go against the grain when necessary, to put the vehicle in reverse, to backtrack, to sweep up and change this fundamental patterning. That's going to be the opportunity here. And the point again that I'm stressing is we don't have to go back. It's not the old bureaucratic, patriarchal standards, structures. Sure, the world and Saturn may say, yeah, it's just the way it always was. Yeah, you do have to do it this way. Yes, you do have to climb that ladder. Yes, you do have to please daddy. Yes, you do have to fight these wars. And that's where we're listening to our soul, our body, and our inner child that's saying, no, that's not my life. That's not my world. That's where the breaking down, the divisionism, the revolution, the invention, the new possibilities, and we are opening up a new dimension for a life and reality that we never dreamed was possible. The world that we thought our grandkids might get to live, that's us in a few years. That's how quick, how radical and intense this period can be. So this whole year, be sure to experiment. Be sure to change up how exactly we're going about things. Now I'm going to Yeah, let's talk a little bit about emotions, okay? Mars is going to enter into the sign of Cancer on the 26th and remain there through June 11th. Mars is our energy, body, willpower, acting, outward, initiative function in life. Mars in Cancer is creating a safe space. That means emotionally supportive to explore, connect, and liberate our authentic individuality. Everyone has a unique sexual nature. Everyone has a unique body. Everyone has a unique desire system. And we're using those desires to initiate our unique and independent path through life. That's Mars. Passion, willpower, sexuality, drive. In Cancer, Mars is more sensitive. We need a safe environment. We need a supportive group. And it brings our outward direction more inward. It's a more emotional period. Mars is our energy, confidence, and libido. We need a safe and supportive environment for that to be actualized, and that's a part of the intention of what we're creating and aiming towards these coming months, May into June. Mars in Cancer, for example, it's like how we may need to be warmed up with a sense of support, emotional safety, before being able to open up sexually. This is how we are actualizing this drive, this power within ourselves. We can have this confidence and this energy when we feel safe to be truly ourselves, when we're not having to bend ourselves all out of whack due to these unrealistic systems, pressures, outer authorities, etc. Okay, so Mars in Cancer is a little bit more careful and considerate of each other's well-being. There's a little bit more of a propensity to be emotionally sensitive and triggered, but that's what we want. We're learning what makes us tick. All the more when Mars is in Cancer, and especially, drum roll, around this full moon in Scorpio, 7 degrees, 6 solar arcs minutes of Scorpio, April 26th. While Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, stations retrograde 26 degrees Capricorn the following day, the 27th. Guess what, folks? This full moon in Scorpio has the signature of being a tremendous emotional discharge. Scorpio, Pluto, is the unconscious facet of our psyche. Those of us who are exploring life, wanting to learn about ourselves and grow, we quickly recognize that the unconscious of our psyche is the majority of our psyche. All of the fears, inadequacies, emotions, thoughts, ideas, passions, desires, attractions, and repulsions, where they were considered too complex for us to understand, or considered unacceptable by our world or society, or where there was simply not a space for us to express or be our authentic selves in the past. A full moon such as this one triggers a release, where now all of a sudden the skeletons come out of the closet. What we've been hiding or suppressing for years springs forward like a loaded spring that's finally lifting off. And even our own desires, motives, if they were previously ulterior, if they were hidden, if they were distorted, well, we're all getting to know more in detail, more up close encounter, face to face. Scorpio is intimate, intense, personal encounter, intimacy. So here we have Venus in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, opposite to a full moon in Scorpio. And, the example that comes to mind is Pawn Stars, these pawn shops where we've got to figure out money. We've got to figure out resources. How much is this worth? And there's a very intense emotional exchange, Scorpio, where there's this bartering. Hey, this is actually not worth as much as you thought. Oh, it's actually worth a lot more. It's intense. These are the types of stormy, intense, real interactions we can be having. Hey, how's this working? What is the value of this? Is this a mutual exchange? We're looking at dynamics of conflict, close, claustrophobic, intimate encounters, which is necessary in order to learn about our unconscious, our deeper feelings, our ulterior motives. We need the safe space to do that spelunking, to do that deep sea diving, shadow work, and healing, as well as the counterbalance of Taurus, which is the space to digest, going off into the woods for a walk, taking a time for a meal, taking some hours off for a nap to process, because our nervous systems can be so dialed up and on high. The New Age movement and most popular religions in our current age and time absolutely suck at shadow work. They actually prejudice against and kill this most vitally important facet of our own consciousness, which is to say our own life is Scorpio. Scorpio is the biology of life itself. It is like the universe's heart pumping passion, energy through the cosmos. Every single human being has what we could say a light body and a shadow body. This is the nature of what it means to be a human being. Any person that avoids, denies their own shadow, or says no, that doesn't exist in another person, avoids and denies their own humanity, and we do not know ourselves or another person until we know their shadow. Historically, our shadows have all been prejudiced against. Scorpio was demonized. Negative emotions, negative feelings, intensity, anger, frustration, these were all considered the emotions that bad guys have, right? That's what the mean warlock or witch in the castle. She's mean, she's too passionate, she's intense, she's got negative feelings, negative emotions. So, or, she's got weird sexual desires or weird, sexual repulsions, or he's got really intense phobias, or they're too obsessed with this, that, the other thing. Scorpio gets labeled too intense, dark, wrong, bad, taboo, shoved under, ignored. Well, each and every single human being has historically experienced these prejudices. They are still more alive than anything else in this day and age. These memes that are very common on the internet that say, anger and frustration and negativity is a low vibration, 3D consciousness. And then we've got happiness and bliss and love. Well, that's 5D consciousness, and that's a high vibration. Guess what, folks? That is patriarchal prejudice against the feminine. Patriarchal ideology. It damns the feminine in ourselves. It condemns and blasphemes the humanity in ourself or another. What a horrible meme. Okay? No, your anger, your negative emotions are not lower vibration. And those people circulating these ideologies, what they in fact do is prejudice and put down the people that suffer, the people that need help. That's a way of literally blaming the people that need help for their suffering. It's essentially an evil ideology, just to be forward. And how common it is in the New Age movement, how common it is in spiritual religious circles. I mean, there are whole groups of people that are mindless, out of their bodies, not really human beings, almost nearly sociopaths, that literally gang up, group up, put down, ostracize, and outcast the people that are embodying the divine feminine, and then they call themselves New Agers or Ascended Masters, and they live on their permaculture farm and think they're better than everyone else. Anyways, it's fucking bullshit. Anyone, anything that's putting down your shadow, your icky, suppressed, ulterior motives, hidden desires, is dehumanizing us, themselves, other people. We don't know a person until we know their shadow, okay? A person's shadow is their wounded side of themselves. We could say their wounded child coming out of their prior wounds and traumas. Any soul that we love, we will intimately get to know their shadow. And as we're getting to intimately know their shadow's not like an evil thing that's abducting them from themselves or leading them away from the truth or light. These are, again, patriarchal horseshit ideas that prevent healing, that prevent intimacy, that prevent connection. And I can't tell you how many stupid-ass New Agers are out there that don't know how to do intimacy and think they're more evolved because they're happier than other people. No, you're not human. The people that you love, you will encounter their shadow because they've had past wounds and traumas that have formed those shadows. And therefore, those that we love, we enter into their shadow realm to bring healing and awareness to those spaces. The way that we do this is by holding a space for each other's shadows. Yes, you can have a temper tantrum. Yes, you can have a bad day. Yes, you can cry until you won't stop about things that seem really petty or mundane, but they're not. Your anger, your frustration, your emotional discharge is not petty or mundane. The triggers may seem small, but they're symbolic. And it's causing a huge emotional response because there have been many lifetimes and so many early childhood experiences that reflect that particular trigger, that particular pattern. So there's an opportunity in being triggered. There's an opportunity for these emotional releases to be spelunkers and deep sea divers following that trail of breadcrumbs into our truth. The shadow is our truth. The world's shadow is the world's truth. If we're going to call the world's and each other's shadow as lesser than, less evolved, 3D or lower vibration, all we're doing is avoiding and denying the truth. We're delusional and leading other people into delusion. So the shadow is true. It's not bad, it's not icky, it's not something that we're running away from. And those emotional responses, sure, they can get exaggerated, sure, they can get swept out of proportion, sure, we can get into dangerous positions of causing harm to one another when we accidentally trigger one another. But in love, we understand all of this. We don't fucking ridicule each other and condemn one another and give each other grades for how well we hold our shit together. That's patriarchy. I can't tell you how many fucking bullshitters are out there posing as New Age teachers that are witch hunters. They're witch hunters. They condemn and prejudice and put down the divine feminine and the people that are going into their shadow and doing the necessary healing work, which requires emotional release, which requires the experience of anger, frustration, sorrow, being upset, wanting to burn our house down and take everything down with it sometimes. Yeah, you're allowed to have that experience. You're allowed to be a human being. And furthermore, you have those feelings, you have those reactions for very, very good reason. So, folks, make sure you're in a good community with good people. We don't need 100 people. We just need 1 or 2 that we're safe to be ourselves, to explore our inner content, to explore our shadow. Our friends are those that we can be and take turns. I go into my shadow, which means I'm a triggered baby right now. And you know that's not who I am. I'm only a triggered baby because I've been hurt in the past and this hurt me again. And we need to be strong capabilities to hold a space for each other's wounded inner child. It's not really them, it's their wounded child that's reacting. And so we hold a space for that. And then that person can explore their inner content and then come full circle. Oh my gosh, I fell back into the past. I had this emotion getting triggered. We all take turns in doing this. This is real support. This is real healing. These are the souls that are choosing to leave the patriarchal paradigm in the past and do the necessary work, as uncomfortable as it may be, to liberate ourselves by honoring the truth of who we are. That's when the shadow becomes integrated, not as something we're trying to get away from. The shadow becomes a source of our gifts, of our healing. I'm only able to provide these suggestions because of my own frustrations and challenges that I've experienced in doing my own shadow work. This is, by the way, why I formed Alila community. It's not just to, make money and sell potions and have my face everywhere. I have created this community out of my own lack of support and a dire need for support. And I don't want any more of the horseshit New Age fake support. I want you to use Alila community to discharge your emotions, to air out your dirty laundry, because that's what a healthy human being does. And we create the space for you to do that without feeling horrible and without feeling bad. So, for example, we have a New Age damage control and cult recovery circle in my community, and that's a space for us to express the frustrations, the woundedness that we've experienced in the New Age movement or these cult-like environments, so that way we can help each other get back on our own feet. Concurrently with the full moon in Scorpio, I'm also teaching about Pluto, Scorpio, and the 8th house in my astro school. That's going to roll out this weekend, April 24th. Pluto, Scorpio, this is the foundation of evolutionary astrology. Pluto in our birth chart is where we have had many past lifetimes of experience. Pluto is a very important heavyweight that is the unconscious of the soul, the majority of the iceberg beneath the water. We're going to learn how to interpret that Pluto position in our charts. That is the base foundation of our life, our personality, as well as our evolutionary path and journey throughout life. Our first community meeting is on May 1st. That's free for all who would like to attend. I would love to be meeting you, seeing some new faces, and for those who can attend, I look forward to seeing you there. As always, especially under this full moon, extra naps, extra snacks. Do take care.